I mean, nobody says, who's my next victim without a slight, bit of sort of facetiousness to it. It was a lighthearted scene.
Was there any tension when you were doing the sex scenes with Jonathan?
There really isn't any tension when you're doing a sex scene. I mean, unless you're, unless there's a lot of sexual tension off screen. And Jonathan and I, as gorgeous and charming and handsome as he is, we were quite goofy with each other all the time. So it was very, it was very light, it's very lighthearted and spirited kind of scene, except for the fact that I was freezing. I have a wheat allergy, and when I was rolling around in a wheat field, and in the middle of the scene, I said, do you taste blood by any chance? And I looked down, and Jonathan had split my lip with his tooth in a passionate embrace, but sent apology, which was very sweet.
What was your least memorable kissing scene?
I've only ever done one kissing scene that was really appalling, because I got very bad stubble rash from Hugh McGregor, and he smokes up. Scarlett's got a very soft, fleshy, sweet man. It was much better, much better. Scarlett and Emily had...
I didn't think kissing Ewan was that bad. We'll have to compare notes afterwards.
Well, from my point of view, it was a little bit more difficult. I got some serious stubble rash that stopped filming for half a day.
He had to shave in the middle of the scene, actually. He'd shaved that morning and that afternoon, and like 3 minutes before, and 15 minutes later he had to shave again. That man's really got some beard on him, doesn't he?
But no, he kept it.
Relentless. Relentless was.
When are the paparazzi just too much to handle?
Enough is enough for me as soon as I leave the house and I'm absolutely appalled by paparazzi and I've had many situations. You know what I mean? Like, it's a choice you make to do this. Stop people, but if you, it's not illegal, which is very strange. So I don't really know, where the legal line is there. And it's as soon as somebody starts photographing me, when I'm not on a red carpet with, hair and makeup and a gown, and it's against my wishes, that's the line.
Getting down to business.
At $5.15, the national minimum wage is not enough.
Provides a little more than $6,000 below a poverty income. It's not fair.
Compared to the national average, been willing to let the pay increase for the has managed to give itself 8 pay raises, totally minimum wage. Some stuff actually increases job growth and boosts local economies as people have 200,000 signatures for a ballot. Have increasingly taken action. In 2004, 3 states boosted their minimum wage. A year later, 5 more. Now, some industries still argue that raising the minimum wage would undercut their competitiveness, but those companies are becoming a minority. The Economic Policy Institute says 86% of businesses now admit that an increase in the minimum wage level would have no adverse effect on their business at all. So Congress has absolutely no excuse to delay.
The time has come to finally recognize the trade deficit and take action to solve it. The new property tax that was voted in to fund badly needed repairs for schools is going to hurt.
Larry King Live, featuring an interview with CNN's very own Anderson Cooper.
Why a book now? Hurricane Katrina,
mean, I'd been writing this book in my head for about 15 years, and I'm taking notes on it, and I was worried that as the floodwaters receded and as the convention center got cleaned up and the Superdome got cleaned up, that, you know, one day people would just forget about what happened there, and it would only be those who suffered through it and survived through it who would remember. And I wanted to, you know, sort of write down all the people I was meeting and the things that I couldn't show on television, just the conversations with police officers and, you know, late at night in bars and on the street, and just sort of. Also, I kept being surrounded by things from my past, suddenly in the present. Memories. My father had gone to high school in New Orleans and had grown up in Mississippi, and I suddenly drove by his old high school and remembered being there as a child with him. And so it was sort of this union of past and present that made me just start to write.
Why did you decide to discuss your dad and your brother?
Well, the book is really, it's not a linear story. It goes back and forth through time. For me, there was a real realization this year of just how present the past is in the present, how much the past around you.
Since you had the bad experience of the press covering your brother's funeral, why'd you go into this field?
Yeah, it's interesting. If you'd asked me back then, I would never in a million years thought I would be on the other side of that. I tried to get an entry-level job in news, tried to get an entry-level job at ABC, answering phones, being a gopher basically, and I could not get this job. So I came up with this plan. I figured if no one would give me a chance, I'd have to take a chance. I'd have to create my own opportunity. And seeing the world, and was interested in combat and interested in just learning how to survive and still trying to figure out what had happened to my brother. And so I figured I should go to places where tragedies had happened and people did survive and learn from them. And so I decided to start going to wars.
How did you host of The Mole, right?
Well, yeah, I worked at ABC. I did freelance. I was overseas in the combat zones for about two and a half years, going to countries in conflict for Channel 1. And I thought it was a friend of mine, like, calling as a prank, because, I mean, they literally rejected. And ABC hired me, and I worked for ABC News for about 5 years.
How did you get here?
Well, I left ABC and did The Mole for 2 seasons in New York, and I thought, this is crazy. It's ever happened to our country in my lifetime, certainly, and I want to. Literally a couple days after 9/11, the man who used to run Channel 1 was working at CNN as a consultant and executive. Would you be interested in going to Afghanistan? I said, absolutely, and that's how it started.
Do you like danger?
No, I wouldn't say I like danger. I mean, I'm a complete wimp.
You walk in floods, you go down streets where things could happen. If you like being out in a hurricane.
That everything I do, if there's a story to tell, then I'll do it. To me, what I don't understand, I mean, Sarajevo again, and for me, it's always, why wouldn't you go? There are thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people facing these calamities, facing these tragedies, and they're going through it. The least I can do is be there to tell their story.
You like it better than the desk?
I do. I like the desk because it's a mental exercise at the desk when you're anchoring, and especially during breaking news coverage. There's nothing better when the teleprompter is blank and it's just live and the electricity is incredible. It's the closest to being out in the field as there is. For me, there's nothing like trucks screeching to a halt, and I've seen some just extraordinary things, and keep learning. And every time I go,
God, it was early on, so it was a different kind of a camp. It wasn't a war, and it was kind of just this area of people who had had their limits
limbs cut off from the violence, and it was an amputee camp, and it was. The best moment of my life. Very focused on myself, on my career, on my life, on this, we should be about things. I'd been done things. Yeah, as soon as I got to a phone, how much I loved her. I was so grateful I knew where she was. I was so grateful I knew where my brother was. That it just changed everything.
Right. And then how do you come back? I mean, it's always, I found it always a hard thing once you're there and you see that your eyes are open and your heart is open and your mind is open, and then you come back, and especially, in this world that you live in, it's got to be such a strange, it's got to be surreal.
By the time I got on the plane and on the way home, I didn't, I knew that I would somehow commit to doing something with these people in my life, and I knew that that would be
around the world. There's so many problems. Why is it you're focusing on people? There have always been refugees, internally displaced people. There almost likely will always be.
When I went to Cambodia, and I learned a lot about the situation there and the refugees there, but I've got this book on the UN because I really like the idea of the UN. I know it's not perfect, but I loved what it stood for, and so I got a book on the UN, and I was reading about it, and then I got this chapter on refugees, and it said almost 20 million people are displaced, and done pictures of it, and I was just shocked. I thought, how old, and there are this many people displaced in the world, so I knew that it was something that had to be discussed, and then the more I read about it, the more